I have a question. Will the platform business displace or even replace also classical hardware distribution, as I know it for 10, 15, 20 years?
That is a very, all the gurus in the world are discussing about that. And yes, you have people coming from the financial area who are saying, no, everything as a service.
Yeah.
Why? Because from the financial KPI perspective, sounds sexy to have recurring revenues, not to have the activas in your books, and not to have the net working capital in your books. And from the financial sector, everybody's dreaming everything as a service. Sorry for saying that, Mark. Everything will be not as a service because it depends on more dimensions. The first one is of which product category are we talking? How complicated is the product category? How innovative is the product category? Because if the product category is commodity, I believe will stay transactional. But the value you can create on it is lower if you are not selling the whole infrastructure of the working place or the gaming place or of the house or of the factory. Or let us talk about companies who don't want to have a consumptional approach as a service approach because they have a cash position which is very good. In the countries, they have tax laws who are permitting them to make a nice depreciation, or they have a structure into different countries. I understand, Octa, you are working with multinational, which have operations in Bolivia and I don't know where, which maybe they are not, depreciating or activating the IT there. They are doing that in another country. From tax perspective, is more interesting. Then which HR laws keeps in the country, because one of the reasons of coming with this nice consumptional approach is to say you can deploy your IT department to somebody else. And you say, okay, did you calculate the cash of restructuring, the cash position of restructuring the company? Maybe that will kill the project. I believe there are many variables. I don't believe, I know many variables, and we cannot say one fits all. Therefore, the approach of also is to say, we are a technology provider. How you consume it, if you want to own or if you want to have as a service, is your decision.
Yeah.
There are advantages and there are disadvantages from any of the models, but we are selling IT. If we send the IT with the drone or we send with the truck, it's IT. If we sell that as a service or we sell that as a transaction, it's IT. And I think that is the most important thing that we are either saying to our people. Transactional business, the traditional business, can be very sexy.
It is sexy.
Companies is investing constantly in improving their service. And I am saying you can be very sexy for other companies. For us, is extremely sexy.
Yeah. And that's correct, because at the end of the day, you have to buy milk and egg and butter. And that's how I see it also, because you are a one-stop shopping, and we are telling our customers we are one-stop shopping. So we are having this marketplace. So whether you need a cable for 10 euro or you need a HP enterprise data center for 1 million, you have one-stop shopping place you can go to, and the go-to guy that knows how to approach and how to advise the customer.
Use the opportunities of companies enabling you to deploy this hybrid business, because the potential is great. And having the data and the analytics you have through the cloud is nothing more than a virtual warehouse. Let me say that. Yeah. I don't believe there is a cloud business, like I don't believe there is a warehouse business. It's a virtual warehouse. The technology of cloud is positioning us into an analytical capabilities that we didn't have before. And we believe that the world will be hybrid. And we believe that we should do the effort and we should work with partners that understand that this hybrid world is a great opportunity and understand we are not selling cloud. We are selling technology. How somebody consume that is another issue.
And my similar question is, do you see yourself as a broadline distributor or a value-add distributor, and why?
I believe the word distribution is a word of the past. Let me say that. Because distribution, if we see that from an etymological point of view, is a physical movement of something from A to B, which between us is a value proposition, no discussion. But today, companies should understand that that is not the only value proposition they are giving. They are giving by far more value propositions. And I have a problem either with the word value add and broadliner. And I tell you why. Because the first time I joined the industry 10 years ago, when I heard value add, I asked myself, if that is value add, the other is value minus. That is not very sexy, I would say. Everything should be value add. Second issue, broadliner. If a technology provider using the framework of resellers is not offering an ecosystem of devices, vendors, solutions, alternative to consumer, is not a technology provider. And yes, they are distributors, like I would say Kuehne + Nagel, maybe you heard about it. This is a transport company. Only that we understand one issue. We don't have trucks. We don't have trucks. Everybody is saying to us, no, you are the logistical company. So IT logistical company. I read that several times. And I said, sorry, I don't have trucks. I hire that to somebody else because it's not a value proposition that I provide. And I believe the future is understanding that technology, IT technology, will improve quality of human life. Second, very important, to do that, we need an ecosystem. We need different categories, different brands, different approaches, different customers. Third, this industry lives from innovation. And if we have the innovation, we need these two tiers to deploy these different items and ecosystem. That is the approach. It was a very good question, but it was coming from Oktay. I remember your question. Are you selling devices or are you selling solutions? It was going in the...
Yes.
I tell you very clear, we are selling both. Why? Because if you want a device, I can make business with you. If you want a solution, I can sell you a infrastructure of devices who can talk each other, and I can either make business with you. The approach
one thing that's more important, what you're saying there, is the people and the trust you mentioned. Because if I have to buy from Also, I need to have some know-how from you. You have to give me the value add that I'm asking for. Because if you only have the hardware, then everybody can deliver the hardware. But you have to give me some trust, and you have to give me some advice and know-how. And that's why I ask about, are you a broadline or are you a value add? Because I see some distributors that are giving me much value add, and I see some distributors that are only a shop. They have a product and they have a price, but they don't give me some know-how.
Yes. And that is a very important comment, Oktay, because I want to tell you the development of the company in the last 10 years. We were only a wholesaler selling devices 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And we decided to deploy the solutions business, but not in every country. Why? Because we said we are making step by step and learning. You know, you need certifications. You need tests, infrastructures where you can make the so-called functioning test of the infrastructure. And After 10 years, we are making roughly 3 billion in this business. 3 billion is not bad. We are not only doing that, but from 12 billion, 3 billion is not bad. Let me say that 10 years working, and we don't deploy that in every country. We have great opportunities to deploy that further, for example, in Denmark, no discussion. In Sweden, no discussion. But there are countries where we are very, very strong. Germany, Poland, Switzerland, where we have a track record, which is not bad, let me say that. The approach of also is a little bit different than what you call value-add distributors. We are, and we changed that last year because I realized there is a problem if you are selling a solution of one vendor. You must be vendor agnostic in the approach. Because, for example, I give you the example of the data center. We need an enlargement of the data center. We have different possibilities. We make a transaction with blades and you enlarge it, how you know it. And you have the opportunity to make the blades of the vendor you had before, or you have a white label if you want, etc. You have the opportunity to make an on-prem solution or an off-prem solution with a hyperscaler. Stefan knows about that better than me. What is my approach if I will be not vendor agnostic? I will not give you a value proposition which is to have an economical and future solution for your data center. I will be very vendor oriented, and maybe I will not talk about CO2 consumption, sorry for saying that, if the vendor or if your customer has already infrastructure and the approach and the support you are getting from a distributor is vendor oriented. And I am saying every time vendor agnostic, and we created a department last year, and it's clear, vendor management is not done by these people because we don't want to have any noise when we are approaching the solution. Other one, I'll give you another example. Our educational department. Everybody was interested when the German government said, no, we are having 5 billion and we have a great business. Everybody was interested to sell the devices. Also, we said, no, we are not interested to sell the devices. We are interested to make a solution for the school. Understanding that the school needs a router, an internet connection, which is stable, understanding that the school needs presentation devices, understanding that the devices and the front end for the students is the last part of an ecosystem. For example, understanding what is the content management we are providing. What we did is we worked together with consultants, and we are still working with it. We are going to the school to understand what is the necessity. Because if you have the device, but you don't have the content management system, the teacher cannot do nothing. Or teachers which are suddenly in a position which they are not able to use the devices, and the students can do that better than them. Very complicated. And therefore, our approach is vendor agnostic, looking for the right solution and not pushing a system which has a heritage. We are not in every country, big opportunity, but I believe we must maintain the seriosity and saying we do that as a vendor agnostic approach.